Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply. In this video is to bring you a closer look at the Pemko number PK55W. This is what a roll of it looks like. It'll come in a bag with a piece of paper that will serve as installation instructions on the material. We're not going to pull that out because it's linked to down below this video. But the PK55 is exactly this. It's a teardrop-shaped, self-adhesive, what they call Pemko preen, a synthetic silicone type material, well, a synthetic rubber type material, that is used in fire and smoke gasketing. The PK55 is representative of this type of material and its dimensional properties, of which it is 1/2 inch wide, and then it's 3/16, and that'll make it nice because the fact that it is smaller will permit you to get this installed into a gap that is down to as much as 1/16, and if you're installing this material in accordance with NFPA 80, you would probably be aware of the maximum gap permitted on a wood door of there being not more than 1/8 of an inch between the edge of the door and the frame. So you really want this to close off and close down so that it does not impede the proper door operation of your material. The PK55 is available in W for white, in BL for a black, and then D for a dark bronze finish. And that D is a very dark color, but it's not black. If you were to compare it to black, you'd be able to see, oh, it's not quite that dark. And the PK55, again, is specifically intended for tighter installations. And if it was up to me, I would probably only use the PK55 so that you don't have an obstacle, or as much of an obstacle as you would with something that's intended, or something that's a 1/4 inch thick. If you've got spring hinges, like you're going to have on hotel doors, on suite doors to hotels, extremely low closing force is what you really want to maintain when you have fire-rated doors that must, of course, be self-closing and self-latching. But when you get into a situation where you have to have smoke seal on doors, it all needs to work. Okay, available in lots of different roll lengths. 17, which is what this roll is, would be appropriate for a 3070 door. Why? 7 plus 7 plus 3. 17. Okay. 19 is obviously for a 3080 type size door. PK55, other roll lengths that Pemko lists as available to us. 21 foot. Pardon me, let's start over. 18 foot, 21 foot, 510 foot rolls are available. There's others as well. Let's start over. 17, 18, 20, 21, 25, 30, 240, and 510. And you'll absolutely want to order, if you can justify the 510 foot roll based on the job per foot, it will certainly be less expensive. Okay. Now, back to the extended description information down below this video. Seal compresses at 3/16 and seals a 1/16 of an inch gap. Naturally, when you're going to pull this out of the package, it's more than a 1/16, and in fact, it will work for a gap that's 1/8 of an inch. Again, designed for tighter frames and demonstrates extremely low closing force. Excellent resistance to compression set, particularly at elevated temperatures and for extended periods of time. Stays flexible between 40 below and 250 degree above Fahrenheit. Outstanding ozone resistance rating. Very high resistance to flex fatigue. Storage life, you don't really want to have this on the shelf more than 6 months. This peel away protective film on here is literally, you know, it's an adhesive, so you don't necessarily want that to be on there any longer than necessary, or I should say not installed. It needs to be stored at room temperature material. Now, moving into the installation aspect, and I've installed material like this in the past. There is a link below this video to the installation instructions, and they are literally the card that's down here. It's the back side of the card. I can tell you from actual experience that you'll want to absolutely follow the guidelines when it comes to the installation instructions. And what I mean by that is on page 2 of the installation instructions is where you'll need to start with this. So, first of all, tested and rated gasketing material for fire-rated doors intended for applications to listed steel frames and or classified steel-covered composite type, chameleon type doors, and hollow metal type doors rated up to 3 hour, wooden plastic covered composite type doors up to 1.5 hours, wood core type doors up to 20 minutes. The installation instructions. First of all, storage, room temperature, between 50 and 100 degree technically, and use it within 6 months. Before installing, thoroughly clean the frame with the enclosed cleansing towelette. It is so crucial that the frame is clean that they include an alcohol pad, an alcohol wipe, to remove any grease, dust, or cleanser buildup. Before installation, wait for the frame surface to completely dry. Evaporate the material off. Some hospital environments have wax or antibacterial cleanser buildup. As an alternative or substitute cleanser, use isopropyl, rubbing alcohol. Mineral spirits or other petroleum-based cleaning products should not be used. Obviously, it's probably not meant for the adhesive that's on here, but you're probably going to degrade the finish that's on the material. If it's too cold or too hot, below 50 or above 100, it's not going to work. Stop, don't even try it. Once you've cleaned it, I suggest you go back and clean it again. You clean it and then use this the second time around. I cleaned the frame really good the first time just to realize a couple hours later that I had detachment. And when I inspected the frame after realizing I had a failure, if you ran your finger down it long enough, you would be able to tell there was a little bit of particulate on there. So it's really crucial to have a clean frame. Not only clean, but if it's been painted, the paint needs to be utterly dry and cured. I would wait a week till after it's been painted. Same thing with a wood frame. You might even want to get in there and brush the wood frame a bit to give you more surface area, but it still has to be free of particulate. Installation should take place after construction is completed, flooring is installed, and final cleaning is completed as well. Paint on frame must be cured for at least 5 to 7 days. Paint cannot be wet underneath the dry surface when gasket is pressed on. The surface must be non-porous and sealed. Follow standard industry guidelines on sealed wood frames and or rough surface before applying. Antibacterial, antifungal, or silicone additives in paint may inhibit adhesion. Application and tips and warnings. Let's go through them, and I'll add my opinion at the end. Do not stretch the material. When you're putting it on, don't pull it taut. Just push it straight. Product can retract or shrink if stretched. It's going to resume its natural elasticity. I found that out the hard way. I was trying to make a really nice straight line and pulling on it a little bit more than I ought to have. And sure enough, that desire for it to come back broke the bond. Use very firm perpendicular pressure when applying. Use wallpaper seam roller to reinforce adhesion after applying. If you notice that it's moving at all, you might have a problem. One thing I don't think they say in here is, well, they do in the installation instructions, pre-cut the hinge jamb and strike jamb and header pieces to fit before installing, and do not install as one continuous piece. Cut the gasketing at a 45-degree angle between your jamb and your header for the head and the side and the jamb pieces to meet. Remove approximately 24 inch of backing from the material at a time. I like to work with a little shorter amount because I tend to pull on it a bit more. And again, be careful not to stretch or drag the adhesive on the ground. Position the adhesive gasketing as illustrated on the lower left. Do not stretch the material. The use of a hand roller is highly recommended. How to apply the material is on page 3 of the installation instructions, and you'll notice whether it is the hinge jam or the header or the strike jam, they want you to install it the way that they've shown. So be mindful of that. The purpose of jumping to the installation instructions is to pre-cut the pieces. When you're applying it to the frame, if you notice that you've got a little extra length and you've cut it correct, then you know you stretched it. Immediately remove it, reposition it, and apply it back down. Double check adhesion after 2 to 3 hours before leaving the job site overnight. When you're pushing it, be as patient as you can and push as good as you can for as long as you really can. At least 30 seconds in each area, I like. If the gasket separates from the frame, press again with firm pressure when it's repositioned. If the adhesive strip is exposed, airborne dust may impede adhesion and replacement may be necessary. Application at the header can be awkward due to overhead conditions. Be sure to apply enough pressure. Adhesion takes delayed set. Immediate removal and resetting can be done if errors occurred after initial placement, but do not reset after 1 hour. Full set is received after 24 hours. Frame is clean. Measure and cut the pieces. Lots of pressure and apply. If you've made any mistakes, immediately rectify it. Check it 2 to 3 hours later, or certainly before you leave at night. I would check it within an hour because you still, or within 30 minutes, because you still have time to replace it based on the delayed set nature of the material. Okay. Required for smoke doors. You're going to see them in hotels all the time. It is going to include a label that indicates that it is listed for smoke and draft control. That is important to go on the frame because the inspector is most likely going to be looking for that. They ought to be looking for that, meaning it's their job to confirm everything on the opening complies. Or if you have a fire door assembly inspector, that person will absolutely be looking for that because they're specifically trained, maybe in an area where the authority having jurisdiction is not as much, perhaps, to look for specific door-related issues. And given the way that fire door annual inspections are mandated by code, that label's got to be there because it does tell the person reviewing the material that it is a listed product. Okay. Finally, there's a link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up not only all of the Pemko products that we sell, but a link to the manufacturer's website, as well as a link to the full product catalog. If you have any questions on the Pemko, their part number PK55W, adhesive-backed fire and smoke gasketing in white, or any other Pemko product, please feel free to reach out to us. And thank you